Hi, I'm Hannah Adkins, and today our special guest is Mr. Kevin Hunsperger from News 3, and he will be sharing his story about how he was teased or bullied. So, what were you bullied about or teased about in junior high?
Well, thank you first of all for having me here today. Um, Junior high, as I don't need to tell you guys this, it is a rough time. I will tell you, for my experiences, it was the roughest time of the preteen and teenage years. And most of the bullying or the teasing that I received was simply based on the way I looked. I wore glasses that were pretty thick framed and thick lenses. And I wore, for part of those years, I wore a mouthpiece device called a bionator, and it was a giant piece of plastic and wires, and it made it hard for me to talk. And then after that, I got braces. And so there was the typical names and insults that came along with that. So definitely, though, I think we all kind of go through that phase, and I don't want to say that it's right, but it's certainly something that gets better as we get older. And I think everybody involved, the bullier and the bully, the person being bullied, matures and grows up a little bit and sees that maybe the way they're treating other people is not the way that you should be treating someone.
Yeah. Did you ever feel like you couldn't get past it, or like it was just stopping you from doing your best?
Yeah, and I think a lot of young people can relate to that they feel like this is the worst thing that's happening to me right now because it's happening right now. And you don't see that light at the end of the tunnel. And you don't know that it gets better, but it does. It can be relentless. You feel like you don't have any friends in the world. And obviously, when I grew up, we didn't have social media. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have the internet or Facebook or any of that stuff. So when you are on the bus going to school or coming home from school, and when you're at school, that 8-hour period, you went home and it ended. You didn't feel it. So my advice to anyone that's going through this is find someone you trust that you can talk to about it. Don't feel like you are alone, because you're not, because we all go through this. Either the person that's being bullied or the bully. And the person that's doing the bullying needs help too. It's not, there's something in their makeup and there's something in their inner being that is not right either. So it's not you as the person that's being victimized. It's not you, because we all have quirks and funny things about us that maybe make us different. And that as you get older, you find out that it's those differences that make us all a solid, cohesive unit. Everyone in this little group of students working on this project, you all bring different strengths to the table, and you all have different weaknesses, and that's what a team does as they come together. And you may not all agree on everything, but you work together for a common goal, a common good, and overcome your differences. And when you get older, you don't make fun of those things anymore. You don't nitpick and pick on people for those things, and you learn to value those differences.
Yeah. So you said it's very important to tell someone if you're going through that. Did you ever have a time that you just didn't tell anyone?
Yeah, it's easy to say, 30 years later to talk to someone or tell someone. But again, when you're in that moment, and I have kids that are your guys' age as well, and I know that they went through very similar experiences. And, it's always easy to say to tell someone that you trust. And my advice to my own kids and to other young people is, yes, I'm telling you this as an adult, but I'm also telling you this as a person who went through the same exact thing. And if you can find those people that you trust, because, a lot of times we hold that shame, like, okay, this person has picked out some quality about me that is undesirable, and so this is me at my worst, and I don't want to talk about it because it is embarrassing, and it's hard to bring up. But I think if we break those stigmas of, it's okay to ask for help. It's okay, if you were struggling in math, you wouldn't be embarrassed to ask for help to get extra guidance or whatever. So, whether it's something that you can work on and improve on your own, or, there's a difference between being a tattletale and talking about a legitimate
definitely.
concern, a legitimate problem, because if you let it fester and build up, that's when bad things start to happen. So getting it out and talking, even if it's talking to a friend that would, that you have confidence in, that you have to let it out. Keeping it all bottled up inside is not healthy for anyone.
That's right. Is there a specific time that you remember that you'd like to share that you were bullied and how you got past it?
I remember very vividly, still to this day, I was in 7th grade. I was in math class. It was first hour. And this is 33 years ago, 1986. Okay? You guys probably don't even know that year existed. But I remember sitting in my desk, and I felt something hit the back of my head. And then I felt it again, and I felt it again. And there were 3 kids sitting behind me, throwing pieces of gum in my hair. And I didn't have the courage to tell them to stop. I didn't have the courage to get up and move. I just sat there and let them do that. And I remember feeling very shameful after that. And I did finally go to the nurse's office, and she had to use something to get the gum out of my hair. But she's like, "What happened?" And I was very reluctant to tell her. And it's, again, it was one of those moments that, you just don't forget those kinds of things, but you move on from them.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying to get over it or to pretend like it never happened, because you have to acknowledge those rough patches in your past. And, some of the people that were involved in that, now thanks to the world of social media and, people, like I said earlier, we all grow up, we, are different people than we were when we're 13 or 14 years old, and now in our 40s, you just become different people, and you talk things out, and I did at a reunion. I brought this up, and they had forgotten about it. That's the other thing about this, is a lot of times the person that's doing the bullying, it's either something they're not thinking about, or it becomes such an insignificant part of their life because they've moved on and whatever. But the victim in most of these cases holds on to that and remembers it.
Yeah.
But it's, like I said, don't let it consume you and eat away at you.
So, you have to think about what that person's going through, the bullier, what they're going through. But you also have to think about the victim. They're going to remember how you treated them. Like you said, 33 years later, you still remember that.
Right. And, it would have been great if, there's 25 kids in that class. If someone else sitting nearby would have said, "Hey, knock it off. Why are you doing that?" So like you said, if you have empathy, if you're the outsider watching and you show some empathy for the person that's being bullied even, that goes a long way to, show that person that someone else cares. Because a lot of times when we're in those situations, and it may only be 1 or 2 people picking on us, but we internalize that it's me against the world, and it's usually not the case. But a lot of times we're afraid to speak up. Maybe we become the next target if we speak up and say something. But if enough people speak up and make a united front, most of the time the person that's doing the bullying gets the picture and decides, okay, I gotta rethink this.
And you can help not only the victim but the bullier too.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there something you would suggest to get past that, being bullied?
If we fell and broke our wrist, we would immediately go to the doctor and get it x-rayed and get a cast on it. But when we take these jabs internally, and it impacts our head and it impacts our heart, it impacts your overall health too. But we're less likely to get help for that because we're embarrassed, because there are stigmas attached to getting that kind of help. But my message to anyone, adults or kids, is, if you broke your wrist, you'd get a cast on it. If you had cancer, you would go get chemotherapy treatment. If you had diabetes, you would take insulin to fix that. it's okay to fix things that we can't see. We
Yeah.
can't see that hurt, but it's okay to talk to a professional
Yeah.
and get that help, and talk to your parents, or talk to an aunt or a grandparent or an older sibling, and get that help.
Well, that's all I have. Thank
Okay.
you very much
Thank
for
you.
coming and sharing.
Thank you.